I'll say it again. Some of you are going to get triggered here. Read the last two sentences again. This calendar is based on a theory of the Earth rotating around the sun. This has not been proven. In the year 2024, when they are allegedly landing a craft on the moon, capturing video on a camera that seems to have been placed there before this exploratory spacecraft landed, to capture just this moment, lined out in a specific frame, and never panning around to explore after NASA claims to have lost the technology to get to the moon? That's called malarkey. Malarkey is defined as meaningless talk or nonsense. There it is. That is the 2024 Google.com definition of malarkey. Does it hurt yet? Has the stupid that's been fed to you your whole lives feel like a festering wound inside that's aching to boil over and consume you? It hurts, doesn't it? Stupid hurts. Wake up. Back to summer. Over the last few months, I was in kindergarten. Dad bought a rototiller from a guy at work. It needed the carburetor rebuilt or cleaned, so he bought it from the guy for $10 and half a cord of cut and stacked wood. My dad was a guy who loved cutting wood. He loved the way the hand sharpened, razor-sharp 20-inch steel bar cut through the side of the grain of the log like a hot knife through butter. He always had a specific technique for sharpening that I never took the time to learn from him. But whatever it was, it worked. We would cut up tons and tons of wood for people on trade. I loved being out there with him, dropping trees for people and cutting up the logs, hauling the chunks to wherever they wanted them, or taking them home with us in the back of the station wagon he owned. Numerous trips, if that's what it took, to get all of it cleaned up. We would cut and stack wood for my grandmother, his mom, every summer as well. I still love the smell of sawdust and two-stroke exhaust. As I get older, it has quickly become a favorite activity of mine as well. I remember sitting in the tough shed he bought for a work shed and watching him fight over the gummed-up carburetor for about a month, every night for 20 or 30 minutes. He'd go into the shed and fiddle with his carburetor before he'd come into the house. After a few days, he'd reinstall it on the tiller and see if whatever he'd done fixed the issue. If that didn't work, he'd pull it apart again and start from square one. We had that tiller until the divorce. It was a tank. I remember being so exhausted after helping with the tilling. I had the most important job, to sit on the back facing Dad and hold the kill handle he made for me to hold. It was a simple switch that if I let go would kill the motor. He could easily control it himself, but it was my job, and it was the most important job to keep the machine running. Also, because little did I know, my job was twofold. Like I mentioned, I was a brick when I was born, and it hasn't changed much. I was the most effective tool to weigh the tiller tines so they wouldn't bounce off the hard-packed soil he had just purchased to help produce food. But I think the reason for putting the dead man's kill switch where he did, within my reach of sitting on the blade guard with my feet bouncing off the rock guard on the back, was so if I fell off, I wouldn't become organic material, or what the American food system calls natural flavoring on your ingredients label, for the garden. Again, one of the details I remember, but I never realized how important it was until now.